Hello, and welcome to my channel, The Entrepreneurial Mindset. My name is Jay Berman, and today I will be discussing Module 7 of my course, Influential Intelligence, Decision Models. I will be discussing 7 major decision models and the major factors that influence our decisions, particularly at work. So the first decision model is economics, which is also the scarcity of money. So for the vast majority of people, we just have so much money in our bank accounts, our paychecks. Money meaning, we pay for things that are affordable. What's in our budget? In other words, what is our income? What is our expenses? Income coming from earnings, working, maybe investments, and of course expenses like house, food, health insurance, car. And economic decisions, while they should be rational, of course, for a lot of us, we tend to make economic decisions based on our emotions because we want a particular product or service, we fall in love with something, and we just have to buy it. But generally speaking, the way economics is taught in college courses, that it's meant to be a rational science. In other words, we make economic decisions based on what's rational, not emotional. And we also make economic decisions based on research. So in other words, before we do make an economic decision, particularly expensive decisions like a house or a car, that we want as much information as possible that is both accurate and as complete as possible. The next decision-making model is utilitarianism. Nice fancy word. Try to say that 10 times fast. It basically means that we see life as both happiness and unhappiness. So in other words, we want to maximize our happiness. We want to minimize our unhappiness. We want to minimize our suffering, and that we strive for long-term happiness as much as we can. So all of our decisions is based on what makes us happy. We tend to avoid things that make us unhappy. Next is game theory. In other words, we see the world, people as either winners or losers, that everyone is a gambler, that decisions are gambles, that our choices, each choice that is presented to us has a certain probability, odds and chances of either winning or loses. And we tend to want to pick choices where the odds, the probability, the chances of winning are in our favor. So in other words, we want to maximize our winnings. We see winnings as benefits, and we want to minimize our losses. Next is satisficing. In other words, we are limited decisions based on the scarcity of the time we have, and that time limits our choices, your choices. We have a certain criteria regarding those choices, and that we make a decision based on something that satisfies that criteria and meets that deadline. So, for example, some good examples are, again, college, more expensive items that require more time, more research, buying a house. If you think about, are you really going to go see 1,000 houses in order to find the one that satisfies your criteria in terms of affordability, how much time you have? Probably not. You're probably going to see far fewer houses, and hopefully one of those houses will satisfy you in terms of affordability, location, those kind of things. Are you really going to drive, 100 cars, to come up with the one car you want to, that's going to satisfy your criteria in terms of time and let's say money. Relocating, or where you want to relocate to retirement. Your criteria would be, let's say, cost of living, maybe being near your family, your children, maybe near being the ocean, or you prefer to be near the mountains. And then, of course, travel. Where do you want to go on vacation? How much is it going to cost? The distance, the location. You want to be near the beach, be in the mountains. The activities that the hotel provides, the cost of the hotel, the cost of the airline. Okay, all of these, require a fair amount of research, and that's why we tend to rely on reviews, because what's nice about reviews is that it tends to limit the time that we need to spend on making a decision, and also it limits our choices. So again, satisfying basically means, the first choice that satisfies both our criteria, a certain criteria. Let's say, for example, college, again, is another good example. Are you going to visit, 100 colleges? Probably not. You're probably going to maybe research the local colleges, maybe colleges in a certain particular region, or certain colleges that have a certain status, a certain prestige, based on, let's say, your son or daughter's SAT score. Again, it's coming up with a criteria, and the first choice that satisfies criteria is generally the one you're going to go with. Though it may not necessarily be the best choice, but it does, again, it satisfies your criteria. We also tend to make decisions, this next decision model I call approval, disapproval, and it's based on the people that, we trust in our lives. We have a social circle of family and friends. We rely on their opinions. We have a work circle, so we tend to rely on the opinions of our supervisors, our colleagues, people we work with. We also rely on the opinion of people with authority, based on their position, their title, their expertise. So good examples would be, doctors, dentists, lawyers, accountants. These are people who have, an expertise, have experience. Of course, people like judges, are good authority figures. So if you're in small claims court, the judge makes the decision based on his title and his position in the court. We also may seek approval of celebrities that we follow, professional athletes, and nowadays, content creators, on, let's say, YouTube. There's, maybe there are certain channels, content creators that you follow, you subscribe to, and you rely on their opinion, on their endorsement for certain products and services. The next decision model is we tend to be risk adverse. So we fear making decisions that will make us poor. So for example, losing our job, losing money, because we do have a terrible fear of poverty. We may fear uncertainty. So we may not make a decision if things, create uncertainty in our future. We may fear change, and we also fear criticism and failure. Then the next decision-making model is code of conduct, which I call the consistency of ethics and actions. So Where does our ethics come from? Well, it comes from our sense of morality, our beliefs. They could be religious beliefs, religious values, our attitudes based on our past experiences, and of course, experience, both personal and work experience. And finally, these are the factors that influence our decisions, both in our personal life and, of course, at work, money, time, information that's available to us, perhaps our education, our emotions, of course, are very influential in making decisions, our criteria for success, the probability that something will be successful, the approval of people in our lives, both in our personal lives and at work, the risk that we're willing to take, and of course, the consistency of our ethics with our actions. And that's my presentation for today. Thank you for watching. Any questions or comments, use the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel for more content in business education and entrepreneurship, and have a great day and be good.